Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Clutch Talk podcast /YouTube/ We Do It All. As always, I'm your host, John. Very happy to be here. My boy Jay Hiz over there in the six. How you doing, baby?
I'm doing good, but I could be great. The one thing that would make me great is if everyone watching this YouTube video that's on YouTube could subscribe. So a lot of y'all watch our videos and we really appreciate it. But if you could subscribe, that'd be great as well. And we got some good guests on as well. So I'm excited for that. Talk about these Heat.
Yes, sir, man. You know, for a team like the Miami Heat, very controversial team, we had to bring two guests that gonna bring that heat. So we are very happy to have JJ and Kenneth, man. JJ and Kenneth, I don't know if you guys want to introduce yourself, talk a little bit about yourself. I know Kenneth, before we got on, was talking a bit about how he became a Miami Heat fan. I don't know, JJ, if you want to talk a little bit about that, but we're happy to have you guys on.
Well, I can speak from how I became a Miami Heat fan. First, I'm from Puerto Rico, so the Miami Heat are the team of closest proximity to my home country. And, you know, I started watching the NBA right as the Big Three formed. So I had a rooting interest in the Heat as well, but due to geographic proximity and the Big Three. So it was a no-brainer for me to root for the Miami Heat, and I've been doing that since.
Love their toughness, man. Brian Grant, he did it for me, the way he approached the game, the way he went about playing the game. It led me to dive in deeper into what the Heat culture was and what it was that they did. Of course, you have Pat Riley, and then, you know, that basically started my infatuation. And how can you not continue to be infatuated when you bring in a guy like Dwayne Wade, and then you bring in Shaq, then you start winning titles, and you go a couple more years, and you got the Big Three and everything else they've done since. I mean, you know, Jimmy Butler's the epitome of Miami Heat basketball and a Miami Heat player. So even if you're just picking it up this year, last year, it's the same thing that it was when I saw Brian Grant do it, that fight, that ferocity, that intensity. That's the thing that drew me to Miami Heat basketball, and, you know, probably draws every other fan too.
Yeah, man. Miami Heat basketball, everybody knows that that's not just any other regular team, and we all know their training camp is notoriously known for being a crazy rigorous training camp, man. So I'm just happy to have you guys on here to talk about all this, man. So we got on this beautiful September 23rd, Thursday, man. I'm just happy to get straight into this Miami Heat discussion here, man. So the first question that we'd like to ask fans for this team interview is, as a Miami Heat fan, are you content with the way the year went?
Well, you mean the previous season? No, we're not content with how it went. But hey, we were alongside the Lakers. We were, you know, it's no coincidence that both finals teams got eliminated in the first round. We were screwed over by the shortened off season. They basically had like couple, I don't want to say couple, like 2 months or something, and then we were back in action. So they were tired all season. COVID struck the team early on, and we were at one point we were like 6 games under 500, right? At one point during the beginning, with Jimmy Butler missing
early on in the season.
And, you know, by the end of the regular season, we started picking up some steam. But then after that game 1 against Milwaukee, everything went downhill, and it was just, hey, mercy killing at that point.
Yeah, man.
I mean, they, like you said, then they shot their load early on, not to be so blunt about it, but it was just like, I guess, the defeat or the feelings of agony after losing the way you did in game 1. It totally deflated them, because, I mean, let's all be frank. If you're watching it, they should have won, but then you have a great player and Chris Middleton, you know, do what he does the absolute best, which is nail mid-range jump shots. And mind you, he did that with a defender in his face. Duncan Robinson isn't, you know, a prime Detroit Pistons player, but he was right there. So that'll deflate him, man. And that's what I think happened. To answer the question quickly and not take too much time, content is a strong word, and I think that's something you can't ever use when you're talking about the Miami Heat, because unless it's a title, then no. But at the same time, to his point, there are 2 interesting facts that I like to point to when I think about last season. There was more time in between the first part and the second part of the bubble year than there was between last season and the bubble season. There were 4 months in between the first and second parts, and 2 months, as JJ said, in between last season and the season prior. And then if you also think about this, within the last couple of days, it's the anniversary of when Anthony Davis hit the shot over Denver.
Yeah.
I mean,
that was 3 seasons now that Will Beaton played within, you know what I mean, almost a year, a literal calendar year. You'll be seen at least 3, you know, parts of 3 different seasons.
I mean, Tyler Hero dropped 37 like a year ago today or yesterday, something like that. It's crazy, and a whole season happened after that shot, at that 37 points, excuse me. So it makes you think like, hey, this team, they were primed to fail, and the Lakers had similar situations with their injuries, and the Heat again battled injuries as well throughout the season.
Yeah, man. And JJ, something that I believe in, something that me and Jay Hill believe in over here at Clutch Talk is full transparency. So I'm going to be open and honest. I'm a Lakers fan. You know what I'm saying? I'm not a biased Lakers fan. I know about the league. I'm not, you know what I'm saying? I'm a Lakers fan. So I know what it was like having that shortened offseason, the shortest offseason in league history. So that leads me to my next question to both of you guys, which you answered, JJ. So I don't know, Kenneth, if you want to touch a bit on it, but how did you guys feel that shortened 72 days offseason affected you guys? Because there was some people around the league that didn't believe in the fatigue. They didn't believe that, you're okay, you got your rest. Like, no, this shit is for real. Like 72 days is not enough time for these athletes to recover from an NBA finals to get back into a full NBA season. So how did you guys feel that the Miami Heat were affected this year by that shortened off season?
Well, when you look at it, man, you can look at it from just that perspective of fatigue is real. You said it. You can't account for what, that type of atmosphere and run. I don't know how many guys on this panel play AAU basketball, how many people out there listen and play AAU basketball. But the way that works is you might play multiple games in a day. You might be playing a game every day. I mean, the multiple games in a day is something early on in the tournament situations. But after that, you still might be playing a game every day. So that's just an example of how consistently and constantly having to play basketball and doing nothing, going to your hotel room, right back to the facility, just the whole psychological fatigue enhances the physical fatigue, which is just literally real, as you said. And then you can look at it from other perspectives, man. When you think about guys like Jimmy Butler, who only knows how to play at 1,000%, and I'm sure that all 4 of us can agree, he went toe to toe with LeBron James in that NBA Finals run during the bubble, and he gave us everything he had. And don't get me wrong, there were guys that played well. Jimmy Butler was the out and out leader and the out and out, depended on guy to be the engine and make it happen for us. So when you think about that, and then another underrated fact that I like to touch on, excuse me, we have a guest here. I apologize. It's the off-season situation. When you think about Tyler Hero, the leap that people expected him to take this year was the one he took in between both bubble sessions. So you can't really account for that particular offseason and think that he's supposed to take another leap. Because as mentioned, it was more time between the first part of the bubble season and the second part of the bubble season than there was between the actual, off seasons last year. So it definitely had an impact, man, in those multiple ways. And there are more to be listed, but we just won't go into them because those are the big ones. Those multiple ways show how it's really, literally, simply that.
So to ask both of you a question, and it's a huge question for y'all. Kenneth, you talked about the Heat culture. You talked about that gritty toughness. You talked about Jimmy Butler. You talked about in the past Brian Grant. So let's talk about one of the biggest additions of the offseason, in my opinion. You brought in a pit bull. That's what I always call him, a dog. A guy who's going to add to the Heat culture, if not elevate an already championship roster, in my opinion. We'll talk about that more. And you already got, Eric Spoelstra, who's the second, tenured coach in the league for a reason after Greg Popovich. So let's talk about what you guys think about the addition of Kyle Lowry from the Toronto Raptors to the Heat Nation. What do y'all think about that?
Well, what I think Kyle Lowry will, first off, huge addition. We have been talking about it even before the offseason. We already anticipated that he was coming over. It had been talked about for a lot of time. He almost came over at the trade deadline, but Masai Ujiri, for some reason, decided to shoot himself in the foot and basically got a lesser return for him than he would have gotten in the trade deadline, because I think it was reported that the offer consisted of one of Duncan Robinson and Tyler Hero and some other players, and he ended up getting Goran Dragic, who, again, no disrespect to the Dragon, I hope Raptors fans up there take good care of him, because that's a dragon. He was excellent for us. But anyway, they got a lesser return for him. But on the basketball side, what he brings to us is, first off, that pull-up shooting ability that he brings to the fold. So, it's sometimes might be a bit random. Hell, even against us, in I remember a particular game this season where he randomly came down the court, stopped at the top of the 3-point line, and pulled up. He'll give us another dimension on offense that I see Kenneth's face. He'll give us another dimension on offense that we unfortunately didn't have last season due to lack of a better word. I wouldn't say poor guard play, but it was subpar guard play in some regards, particularly in the point guard position. And on defense, it's a given with him. He'll take charges. He'll attack at the point. He'll be a point of attack defender, although not as good as he was in the previous seasons. He's 35. Understandably, he'll take a bit of a decline there, but that he built such a great defensive scheme that I think they'll counter those deficiencies that might come at the point of attack with him. And yeah, I'm also excited for his impact on offense because of the things that I mentioned. And I forgot to mention the pick and roll game between him and Bam Adebayo. I think that'll be huge for us.
JJ said it all there, man. But for me, I mean, just to like tie a bow and not repeat everything he said, what we were missing last year was that 3-level scorer who could get us a bucket in big moments when Jimmy Butler was being double teamed, when they keyed on Jimmy Butler. Because even as I mentioned about the bubble and this continued, Jimmy Butler's the engine. He's what makes us go, and everybody else knows that too. Duncan's going to hit his shots. Bam needs to be more aggressive, but he's going to do everything that he does. But Jimmy Butler is the key to it all. So having another guy that you could go to in those big moments where you could say, yo, go get me a bucket. They're going to double Jimmy. They're going to drop somebody over on Duncan. You're going to be one-on-one, and Bam's going to be one-on-one. Either you go get it done or you make it so that Bam can get it done. And like JJ hinted on, it's like when you have a guy who can pull up from 35 just on a dime, look off, and then he pulling up. Happened to us so many times. Trauma. That's why I had to act it out. You have a different dynamic, and you're talking about a dynamic added to a team that, just a season or so ago made a run to the finals. Now, again, I wanted to clarify, everything we're saying about fatigue isn't an excuse because we lost. We got beat. They beat us like a drum. I mean, like the biggest broom ever. You know what I mean? So you can't really look at it as an excuse as much as just us trying to literally make sense of it all and give a solid take based off the facts of the situation.
Yeah, man. When I saw that sign and trade go down, and I saw Kyle Lowry land in the Heat, and I just really feel like I had like one of those like come to Christ moments. I was like, this is a perfect match, man. Like this is perfect. Everything that both Kenneth and JJ, you guys talked about. And then also another thing that, I really am excited for the Heat is that he really fills all the gaps that they need, especially in that backcourt, the defense. One of the biggest things that the Heat lacked in was that backcourt defense with Tyler Hero. We all know, he can't really he's not a capable defender in the guards in today's league. So I think that, adding, like how Jay Hill said, a pit bull guard back there is great, man. But, that actually transitions us to my next point here. And, Kenneth, JJ, I'm expecting big things from you guys this year. I'm expecting some big things because I'm looking at the roster. I mean, I'm well versed on the entire NBA, but of course, before these interviews, I like to look at the roster, look at the team. Look at what's coming up. And I'm looking at your guys' roster, and I come to this conclusion that you guys got a pretty complete roster, like up and down A, like A through Z. And a lot of people are sleeping on the Heat, man. So check this out. So you guys have your stars, your go-to guys in Jimmy, Bam. Some people may not say Bam's a star. In my opinion, Bam, he's breaking out, man. He's breaking out into a real star. And then you got Oladipo. If Oladipo can stay healthy, but if he can, we see what Oladipo can do, man. He can produce those numbers. He can be a go-to guy. Earlier, Kenneth, you were talking about go get me a bucket. Those three guys are all go get me a bucket guys. You got your shooters in Duncan. You got your shooters in Tyler Hero. Now you got, like how you said, Kenneth, 35 could pull from 35 feet, Kyle Lowry, you know, and then you got your dogs in PJ Tucker, Markieff Morris, and let's be real, the Heat's roster is just full of dogs every single year, man. We all know that. They got their vets in UD and Kyle Lowry and Dwayne Dedman, and they got their role players, man, and Caleb Martin, Gabe Vincent, man. So I'm just really looking at the Heat roster this year, and I think a lot of people are asleep, man, because I'm looking at a top 3 seed in the East next year, if can stay healthy, of course, because with this roster, man, I'm expecting a lot. So I know that was long-winded, but talk to me how you guys feel about the Miami Heat and the roster. Are you guys as excited as I am? Because I'm feeling good about the Heat this year.
We're probably more excited than you because let's keep in mind you're a Lakers fan. But no, I'm joking with you, man. With that being said, at the end of your spew there, a very good spew, might I add. You could wear a Heat jersey. You mentioned Dwayne Dedman, and I think that, and I wrote this the other day because I also write for All You Can Heat. JJ tells me there's no such thing as a shameless plug, so blame that on him. You look at him like a jumbo utility piece. Whether you're bringing together a lineup, whether you want to play 2 bigs, whether you need a 7-footer in there, but you want to maintain spacing, you need rim protection, you need toughness, you need a guy in there that'll stand up, you know, and look crazy and act crazy with Dwight Howard. There was a time prior to the UD incident last year where Ariza had to separate Dedman and Howard, and I just loved it. But, I mean, guys like that. And then you didn't mention this guy, and I was waiting for it. Max Strus. So he's prime for what I call a Duncan-like ascension. The guy can shoot it. The guy can do a lot. He can finish, and he's sneaky athletic. And I think that what that'll provide for that second unit is a Duncan Robinson-like impact. And when you're talking about that amount of spacing for all of the guys you named, the reserve guys, I mean, you're talking Keith, you're talking PJ, you're talking, I mean, I think that lineup will be a little intermixed because I don't know exactly where those guys will fit and how Eric Spoelstra will deploy it because Spo probably doesn't even know yet. But when you're talking about all the guys that they can throw at you, man, like you said, we got a pretty deep roster. And that's not to even mention Yurtseven. And I don't think he'll get a lot of key time early because he has a lot of defensive stuff he needs to clean up. But, I mean, you're talking about a guy, if you give him 10 to 15 minutes, he'll get you 10 points just from being out there.
Yeah. And, you know, I agree with you. This is a pretty complete roster. The only little issue that I see maybe is that the power forward position, maybe add something more a bit there. I'm sure there will be somebody in the buyout market whenever that starts, or even at the trade deadline that we can add, because PJ Tucker is slated. I project him to be our starter, but PJ Tucker's got a lot of miles on him already. Hell, he even played center for a bit there for Houston Rockets, and you know your body can take a beating there. And he's not a young man right at the moment, but still, aside from that little concern, and you know how Oladipo comes back, because in our show, Kenneth and I discussed that there was an updated timetable for him that he might be back by November, which seems a bit optimistic given the severity of the injury he suffered. But if he's back by we both said that it might be realistic to see him in January, and he's back to 80-something% of 2018 Oladipo, who was an All-NBA guard and all defensive, I believe, first team guard and league leader in steals. That would be huge for us because he will apply a lot of rim pressure and be the best point of attack defender point at the absolute best for our team. And that would be huge for us, especially like if we match up against the Brooklyn Nets. We got the ultimate switching defense to counter. You know, you're never gonna stop them. But if you can just slow them down a bit, then it's fair game. Yeah,
man. And you know, while we're on the lines of you know just talking about the Miami Heat roster, I do got a question. I definitely need both of your guys' opinion on this, man. You know, being a Miami Heat fan, I'm sure you guys feel a little more. You like this guy more, but most of the league, they don't put much value in Tyler Herro, man. So I want to know, it's because Tyler Herro, he has a lot of potential, man. He could really pop, but he could also not pop because he also has a lot of toxic personality traits that seems like it's just not going to work, man, especially over there in Miami, the 305. But I want to know, how do you guys feel about Tyler Hero? And is he untouchable to you, man?
Well, I'll go first because I want to. Oh, I'm sorry, Kenneth, but let me go. Let me take this one first. I wouldn't call him untouchable. There are very few guys. Admittedly, there are very few guys in the league. I probably could count them with both of my hands that are truly untouchable in this league. Tyler Hero, unfortunately, is not one of them. He's not at that level anymore. However, I still think he'll be very valuable to our team, and the jump will come this season. He finally, remember, this is his first full off season since he entered the league, because last off season basically didn't count. They had 72 days to basically try to improve whatever he wanted to improve, and that's not enough, as we know. If you want to truly improve your game, you need time. You need to be in the lab every single day. And admittedly, their Instagram pictures and stuff and their workout videos, but he has been seen putting in the work. So yeah, all the funny pictures with him looking like Zoolander aside, I feel like he's put in the work, and he has addressed some of the issues that were of concern with him, particularly his handle, building that frame. He there. I don't know if you guys saw the picture. Maybe it was just after the workout, or maybe he was just dehydrated, but he looked jacked in a particular picture. So he seems to be addressing those issues that people had with him, and he seems to be on his way to putting up productive campaign. And not to say that last campaign wasn't productive. It was just that since he's a guy that scored 37 points in an Eastern Conference Finals game, so people were expecting big things from him. So maybe he was a victim of his own expectations.
This is always an interesting topic with me. I've mentioned exactly what JJ hit on, the whole shorter, off season and not having as much time between that as he did between the first part of the bubble season and the second part. And you saw the leap that came with that. When you speak about those toxic personality traits, it doesn't happen with every NBA superstar, but I can name 10, 20 NBA superstars, Allen Iverson, Charles Barkley, Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, LeBron James, that also have toxic personality traits. And I'm not saying he's any of those guys. So what I'm saying is, I don't think that particular judgment, and this isn't a knock on you because you're not the only person that says that. I don't think that particular judgment is a bad thing. If you're talking about a pro athlete, then you need those toxic personality traits, because you have to believe, if nobody else does, that you're better than you are, and always better than the guy that's in front of you. So I think you have to have, I always say it like this, toxic personality traits is kind of synonymous with this. You have to be a little nuts to be the best. You got to be. There's the only way that you could do it. Like, if you look at a psychological profile of Michael Jordan in his prime, you probably think you need to be committed. Seriously. So that thing aside, when it comes to him as a ball player, man, I think he's been too harshly judged. I mean, you got to realize that the guy's still a young player, was going into his third year, first real off season. I mean, what do you want from him? He increased his numbers statistically across all categories last year, and with minimal drop off in efficiency. So if you're trying to nitpick, then that's one thing. But if you're looking at it and taking it for what it is, that's a totally different thing. And once you begin to do that, then you see that the guy is a good ball player who needs to work on certain things, and probably they probably tried to force him to do a little bit more than he was comfortable with last year early on, specifically the ball handling. And I had this conversation with somebody earlier. From a creator's perspective, he's a good creator. The thing about that, though, is he may not always be the best ball handler under pressure. And that's where the issue comes in. And I think there's a difference there.
I mean,
okay.
I was going to mention that.
Yeah, go on. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. That early on, as Kenneth said, to start the season, they slotted him as the starting point guard. And it was a failure. He couldn't handle the point guard position. This processing speed was still wasn't up there to handle an NBA offense, be the point guard for an NBA offense. And his handle, as Kenneth pointed out, wasn't the best to be under pressure, especially being an NBA point guard. But you probably will get there.
Okay, yeah, no, and that's, you mentioned a lot of interesting points about Tyler Hero, and I definitely agree that with Kenneth that you need that it factor in every star. And I'm not saying, like you said, Tyler Hero is a star by any means, but he definitely has, skills and traits as about him as a player that could boost him at some point to that level. But let's talk about the other half of the bubble Hall of Famers, as I call them, and that's Mr. 5-year, 90 million, Duncan Robinson. So we saw that his numbers took a little bit of a dip this season. And maybe, like you said, that it could be fatigue as a shooter. You need your legs, and they had coming off that short rest. But talk a little bit about Duncan Robinson and what do you see his role coming in, what you guys envision as his role coming into, this upcoming season. And do you think that those numbers were an indication of, more, obviously he had more attention this past year because of what he did in the bubble. And do you think that's going to be a trend? We're going to see his numbers continue to decrease, or do you think that was just an outlier? And talk a little bit about Duncan Robinson.
I love this question, man. And I love this question because it always leads me to ask this question. Okay, so you would actually know this firsthand. Let's say you had a Warriors guy. Let's say you had a Lakers guy that shot over 40% from deep on over 8 attempts per game.
Mm-hmm.
Do you care what the number is?
Nah, no.
Do you care if it's 44? Do you care if it's 40?
Absolutely not. Klay Thompson. No.
So, he came down from being miraculous.
Mm-hmm.
But to tell me that 40% is a decline is blasphemy. He can't be miraculous, but he was still among the best in the league. There's probably 2 guys better than him. 40% on over 8 attempts, that's the elite of the elite. I don't care what the other numbers are. So I get it, and you're right, relatively, but I don't care because he's still shooting 40% on over 8 attempts per game.
And those 2 guys play for your team. So, yeah. So, I will to answer this question. I see his decrease as something that was expected. There was a natural regression to come because he quite literally had one of the greatest catch and shoot 3-point shooting seasons in NBA history before the bubble and during the bubble. We call it the bubble year. So, yeah, some regression was to be expected. So, and as Kenneth pointed out, 40% at 8 attempts per game is still pretty damn good. So I'll take those numbers any day of the week. And, he got properly paid for the skill set that he provides in today's NBA. That's extremely valuable. And I think he might even improve this coming season with the additions that we have. And now there won't be so much pressure on him because I really hope that we don't keep spamming those dribble handoffs between him and Bam because they're effective to a degree, but defenses are starting to catch up on that. So maybe we need something else to counter that. But with Kyle Lowry's addition, that's something else that comes in. He's an additional playmaker that will find him. And with Duncan Robinson's off the ball movement, what else can I say? That the Heat offense will be much improved this season, and Duncan Robinson will improve. I would say he will improve from last season.
That brings us to our next segment here. And what we like to ask is we have the Clutch Talk timeout. So basically what I'm going to ask the 2 of you, and you are each going to probably have your own answer, or maybe you'll agree on the same player, but who is your clutch player? As simple as that. Like, who is your go-to guy? I mean, you got a lot of options. You got who you just brought in, and we talked about Kyle Lowry. We talked about Jimmy. We've seen Bam hit those big shots. The shot that comes to mind is against Brooklyn. I think that was over Blake, or I can't even remember who it was. I mean, that was a huge shot for them. But who is your go-to guy? You got a lot of options. Is it all 3 of them, or who is it?
Well, the shot was over Jeff Green.
It was Jeff Green. That's what it was. Yeah, it was Jeff Green.
I mean, to me, there's only one answer. It's Jimmy Butler.
Okay.
Bam is great, of course, but he still has a ways to go to be that guy, which both Kenneth and I believe he can be at his peak, and then probably in the near future, hell, maybe even this coming season, that would be tremendous for us. But right now, the answer is Jimmy Butler, and that's because he's been doing it for however many years now. He's an all NBA dude. He can get you a bucket whenever you need it to. He's one of the rare guys that can get you a bucket and then go ahead and get you a stop on the other end and strip the guy or block a shot. So to me, it's Jimmy Butler.
I would have to
Kenneth?
agree. If you put a ratio on it, it would be about 75-25. With Kyle Lowry coming in and having that 3-level ability, you have to give him the respect, and you're going to need it for him to hit some of those shots or make some of those plays in those clutch moments for you. So it's 75-25. But if you only could choose one guy, without a doubt, like JJ said, it's Jimmy. I mean, there's no other right answer. And you saw it on full display. Well, you've seen it on full display during his entire tenure with the Miami Heat. If you watch the Miami Heat closely, if any game occurs that you can see on national TV, because they don't put us on a lot.
Well, to be fair, they put us on a bit this coming season.
We're not going to be fair. They don't put us on as much as they put some other teams on. They shove New Orleans down our throat. Anyway,
Yeah.
If you've had a chance to watch Miami, then you'll know that Jimmy Butler's the guy that gets it done for us. It's funny though that you guys mentioned the Brooklyn situation, and JJ brings it up, and he knows I'm gonna die on this horse if I do it by myself. It's just what has to be done. He has to be Brooklyn aggressive all the time, and that's the thing that really bothers you as a Miami Heat fan. Bam Adebayo has that in him, and he showed it to you right there. So a lot of people are clamoring and still excited about that. Like, did you see what Bam did in Brooklyn? Like, he has that in him. I'm upset. Because I'm like, yo, why am I not getting that for 82 games a year? I need that every night. We're a title team, without a doubt, with that every night. So to answer the question, is Jimmy Butler, but Kyle Lowry will definitely be spliced in there. Bam has the potential. And like JJ said, we could see that occur as soon as this year. And hopefully that's what happens, because with an aggressive Bam Adebayo, 15 shot attempts or more per night in a make-or-miss league, it doesn't matter if he makes them or miss them, because with his talent and just the thing that he does on the floor, something good will always happen. We're a certain title contender.
Okay.
I was waiting for the 15 shots per game. Because Kenneth loves that.
Yeah.
No, it's 15, man. It's 15. So just to give you a couple of numbers, between last season and the season prior, he increased his output from a shots attempted perspective by 2.5, and his points output went up about 3 points. So if he increases his shot output another 2.5, which will take him to 15 shots a game, you have to imagine that takes his average up about 5 or 6 points, which takes him from 18 to about 23, 24 points a game. And he's going to get you 10 boards at least. He's going to get you 5 dimes at least. He's going to get you 1 steal at least. I'm just saying, the man can be a whole fool. And a block. I mean, shout out to Jason Tatum. The man can be a whole fool. So he needs to be that every night is all I'm saying. Am I a heathen for wanting the most?
Nah. Oh, no, not at all. Not at all. And to follow that up, I watched enough Heat games and definitely followed Bam's stat line because he was on my fantasy team last year. So I saw it. The crazy part about him was you see the flashes, like you mentioned the Brooklyn game. You'll see the flashes of a big game where he takes over. He's got that aggressive mentality, that dog number one. I'm the number one option. No one's telling me nothing. But then there's games where he just kind of fades back and lets other people. So if he takes that next step, it would be great. But like you mentioned, so you got Jimmy Buckets as your number one option. Let me ask you guys about your roster next year. Sorry, your lineup. So your starting lineup, and then your second unit. Your 6, 7, 8 options, and it might be different for both of you. So you can go back and forth. You got at the 1, 2, 3, and likewise. So it's kind of answer that question for me. What starting lineup, and then second unit and rotation.
You want to go first, Kenneth, or? Well, I'll go. Well, I think the starting lineup for me is pretty simple. Kyle Lowry, Duncan Robinson, Jimmy Butler, PJ Tucker, and Bam Adebayo. Now, come playoff time, if Victor Oladipo is healthy, there might be some questions about that 2-guard position, because if you sorely need point of attack defense against an elite backcourt, like let's say, again, the Brooklyn Nets, Victor Oladipo is your best bet there. However, during the regular season, and I expect for most of the playoffs for Duncan Robinson to be part of that shooting guard, the starting shooting guard. Excuse me. Now the second unit, the clear-cut 6-man, he's got is Tyler Hero. He doesn't have Goran there to take a share of the shots away anymore. Although, if we're being frank, most NBA benches don't play together fully every game. You sometimes leave a starter sprinkle in there So what I would like to see is some Jimmy gets subbed out, and then you have Kyle Lowry and Bam Adebayo running the offense by themselves. And then you bring in Dedmon and Keith, Strus, and then you have Tyler Hero and Jimmy Butler to be your number one and number two on offense. And, the defense shouldn't suffer much of a drop off, as we saw. Dwayne Dedmon is fantastic on that end, protecting the rim. He doesn't have Bam's switching ability, although who really does in the league? I think the only other guy that has that switching ability plays for the Lakers. His name is Anthony Davis. But other than those two guys, I can't think of any other guy. Maybe that one guy that's in a bit of trouble up there in Philly, but we don't need to talk about him. Everybody's been talking about him ad nauseum. But those are the only guys.
Well, you have to also mention his guy too. I'll take Draymond into that category.
Oh yeah.
I was gonna say you got to mention my guy Dre. I appreciate that, Kenneth. Yeah, but
forgot about him. Sorry.
NBA champion in Giannis.
I don't know how good I feel about Giannis on my point, though. I think a point guard that can take advantage of his quickness, can take advantage of him and get him in foul trouble. That would be my only thing. 2 through 5, though, I agree.
Right.
Yeah. And Giannis has a bit of trouble. For some reason, he's so big, and yet he has trouble navigating screens. For some reason, he doesn't completely fight over them, and quick guards can, like a Kyrie Irving, can feast on that. So, yeah, those are my lineups for me. Obviously, I'm not the coach, so that's up to Spo. But hey, if you're listening to the pod, these are my suggestions.
As I mentioned, JJ, he doesn't even know what he's doing yet, so he's probably open to suggestions.
I mean, training camp hasn't even opened.
I agree with you. Yeah, right. I agree with you though, on the starting lineup. As I said, I didn't want to, concretely peg PJ Tucker into the starting unit, but if I had to pick a guy, I would say it would be him. Of course, like you said, Tyler Hero will be the sixth man. Now, to touch on your Victor Oladipo point, I don't think you can take Duncan Robinson out of the lineup because of the immense spacing that he provides. Like, even though Kyle Lowry will provide a situation this year where you can't have two guys in physical proximity of him, there'll still always be two guys with eyes on him. So I don't know if you could take him out, even though, as you also mentioned, which I was going to kind of tie that together with, when are they ever doing complete shifts where they're playing, a whole 5 off the pine and a whole 5 off the starters? So there'll be moments where Victor Oladipo will get his, chances to play with the starting unit and be that point of attack defender if they need more of that at any given moment. As far as the bench goes for me, though, and I keep going back to this guy, I think Max Strus is really important. I don't know if he's 7 or 8, but I think he's going to be in those top 3 options. And as you mentioned, the guy, Dwayne Dedmon, his ability to finish and rim run last year was second to none once he joined the Miami Heat. He was arguably one of their best players, within that first 3 weeks that he joined. The energy, the finishing ability, the presence at the rim and in the paint, and just knowing that you can't take everything you have and throw it at our best perimeter players, because if you do, Dedmon is going to get a bucket to draw a foul. That meant something. So if you look at that bench unit, I think those 3 guys will be key. And I also have another guy that I'm going to mention. And nobody likes him except me. So I expect to see the faces twist. And JJ probably already knows where I'm going. I think KZ Okpala as a stopper off the bench is going to be really key. And people are looking at him and judging him to be something that I believe is doing the same thing that they did with Tyler Hero. You can't force him to be what you want him to be. You have to appreciate what he is and understand his deficiencies and want him to get better, but appreciate what he is. And just like Duncan Robinson, which is why I mentioned another reason you can't take him off the floor, you have certain guys, Duncan Robinson will probably be one of them for me, as well as KZ. They play differently depending on the level of talent they're playing with. So if you put KZ around Summer League guys, you're thinking he's playing against Summer League guys. He should dominate. Whereas with KZ, a guy that does everything well, it doesn't matter who he's playing against. If he has better talent around him, he's going to look better. A guy like Duncan Robinson, it doesn't matter who he's playing against, because he's a shooter of the highest order and he, depends on the space just to be able to get his shot off. If he's playing around better talent who's going to take slightly more attention off of him than lesser talent, he's better. So I think that's a phenomenon that play with KZ, and I think KZ is going to perk up and have a big role with us this year. Even if it's only like a 10 to 15 minute, hey, go get him. Hey, don't let him score. I think that's going to be a key role for us because you saw it at times last year against guys like James Harden, against guys like there was. I can't think of it, but it was another one of the perimeter elite scorers, basically. If you have a perimeter elite scorer that's just giving you all the problems and all the hell, I think he's going to be a guy that has a key role in that area. So while I wouldn't say exactly what the rotation will be, I can say that I think our most important guys off the bench will probably be Tyler Hero, as mentioned, Dwayne Dedman, Max Strus, KZ, and I think Keith's going to have a big role because his offensive versatility for that second unit, I think that's going to be key. You like a Swiss Army knife, and especially a guy with the mentality that Keith has. He's ready to knock somebody out at any given moment, and you love that.
Yeah, no, I'm glad, Kenneth. I'm glad you touched on KZ because that was my next question. If you saw any minutes and any role for him. So the next question I got for y'all, like kind of a funny question or however you want to take it. How many appearances are we going to see from UD this season? Like over or under 5, or what are y'all guesses this season? How many you got for my guy UD? The longest, maybe one of the longest tenure. Like what you got? Over?
I'm not taking the over on that one. No, I'm not taking the over on that one.
It's the under.
I am a betting man, and I'm.
Hey, no one to bully Dwight this year. What you got, Jade?
They'll probably put him in like at the end of the season just for him to appear on the record books. Like, hey, this guy played his whatever 19th season it is, but hey, he can stay as long as he wants. You know, some people are complaining to hell he's taking a roster spot or whatever. Hey, he brings a valuable presence to the locker room that maybe as a coach, maybe as part of the coaching staff, he cannot bring. But if I had to bet, I would say under, unfortunately. But hey, the man is 40 years old. There's not a lot he can contribute to the court right now.
Let me ask my man something. How many times do the Heat play the Lakers this year?
I believe that played twice.
2 times.
Oh, I know the number. I was just making sure you knew. That's how many times you'll see UD.
Oh yeah.
Okay, 2. Okay.
You can bet whenever Dwight takes the
I'm
floor.
sure you're picking up what I'm putting down.
I'm picking up
what I'm putting
down. I'm picking up in that Philly game. He had to let him know too, man.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man. All right. So I got a question for you guys. And man, honestly, guys, I'm loving y'all energy, man. I'm loving y'all energy is great, man. So I got a big question for you guys. When I look at your guys' roster, man, I see a big problem, and I see a big problem with the bigs. So I need to know what the problem is, and I need to know what you guys think the solution is. So this is the problem I see. There's no real big. Bam Adebayo, he plays the 5, but I mean, let's be real. In today's league, when there's Joel Embiid's, when there's Jokic's, when there's Anthony Davis's, I mean, we saw in the bubble. I mean, Bam had a hard time against a player like Anthony Davis just because it's just undersized to play the 5, man. So, and really, besides Bam Adebayo, at the big position, you have Dwayne Dedman, who I think will bring good minutes at protecting the rim, but really limited to only that. And will Dwayne Dedman be getting big minutes and deep in the playoffs? Probably not. So I just wanted to know what you guys think, and how does that concern you guys? You know, when, like I said, when there are such dominant bigs in the league like Joel's, how would you feel going up against a player like that, only having Ban or only having a Dwayne Dedman to do limited amount of impact to him?
Well, historically, Bam has struggled against those type of guys like Joel, who are really tall, really strong. But again, around the league, who you can say that can properly stack up against a guy like Joel Embiid? You know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
Like 3 guys, probably like 3 guys.
Exactly. So,
and even they're going to get beat.
Yeah.
Because that's
you can't
Joel
hope to
Embiid.
stop him. You can only contain him.
He's that level of player. He's got that type of talent when he's healthy, of course. So, that being said, you know, something that I think, I wouldn't call it a mistake, but I would call it an observation, let's say. Dwayne Dedman and Bam Adebayo barely shared the floor last season. Now, I would like to see more of that this coming season because with the Hawks, Dwayne Dedman showed that he could space the floor. Now, he won't take 8 3-pointers a game, But if you leave him open, he'll take them, and he'll probably make a couple of them. And with Bam, he keeps expanding his range, which hopefully one day reaches the 3-point line. Although right now we're at the mid-range area, and he's become quite good at that. So on offense, that might not be as big of an issue as some might think. But hey, if you're facing one of those guys, you probably throw Dwayne Dedmon at him and have Bam play what sometimes I feel like might be his natural position, which is power forward, or just a power forward center hybrid, which he can play, and have him switch out onto perimeter, but also guard some big guys, but not as big as Joel Embiid. And, hope for the best, because sometimes that's what you can do with a guy like Joel, especially with his improved footwork and improved mid-range jumper that basically virtually makes him an unstoppable offensive player.
I mean, I tend to agree with JJ, of course, but that's probably kind of why we get along so well. I hate it. I really do. It's, one of those situations where we talk about it all the time. The only thing keeping Joel Embiid from being a top 3 guy is health. If you could count on a guy to play 76 or 82 games, there aren't 2 guys in the league better than him. And he's still a top 5 guy with the health issues. So you're talking about a guy like him, a guy like Giannis, a guy like Joker. You can't expect to stop him. Containing them is all you can hope for. However, when it comes to Bam Adebayo, he is undersized and he has traditionally struggled. You have to believe that his ability to he's like a defensive Highlander. Are you guys familiar with the Highlander?
The car?
After he cuts off your head, the Highlander, the TV show.
Oh no! I thought you were talking about Toyota Highlander.
No, not the. Oh my God, my guy drives a crossover. No, after the Highlander cuts off your head, he then proceeds to take your powers. So Bam is kind of one of those guys. Is after he sees you enough, he starts to learn you. He really is a computer on defense. He learns you. So with Bam, because he isn't as big, but his athletic abilities and his simple defensive abilities, the guy can guard point guards, 2 guards, 3-man, 4-man, 5-man. His ability to just guard will allow him to, at worst, hold his own. But that's also, like JJ said, and why I've mentioned him a ton prior to this question, I think Dwayne Dedmon is being underrated in that aspect. The guy came on after midway through last season, and he played 20 games with us, and you saw his impact on both ends in that perspective. At the very least, Joel won't just be able to post up in the paint and say, hey, this mine. I'm going to take this and can't nobody stop me. Because Dwayne Dedmon will be there to say, hey, brother, I'm 7'2". So I think his impact there is being underrated. As far as the rest of it goes, I think that was our aim this year. You look at guys specifically like Keith and PJ there. Even when you're thinking bigger guys like Giannis and, of course, Joel Embiid and the Joker, size is what you want to go to, but also being able to throw a myriad of different looks at them from guys who may be just as strong, just as nasty, more willing to give them a nudge or a shove. That is effective too. And I think that's the way we're going to approach that, just as well as with Bam's versatility and overall defensive savantness and Dwayne Dedmon's size. I think the versatility you'll be able to throw at him between those 4 or 5 guys, including Jimmy Butler, because let's not forget, this man will guard anything from the 1 to the 5 too, including that guy. We'll be okay.
Okay. All right. I like that, man. So, as we start to wrap up here, guys, 2 questions that we love to ask here for all these fan interviews is, barring health, I as a Lakers fan, I know best this last season was very tough coming off that shortened off season, and you guys know best as well, man. So if you guys have a fully healthy season, fully healthy roster, where do you see you guys finishing that next year, and how deep in the playoffs do you guys go?
I'll take this one. 54-28, top 3 seed in the East. Eastern Finals at very worst.
Okay. JJ?
I would say I'll answer this question in 2 parts. It all comes down to me. I've been thinking about this a lot. It all comes down to me. How much of the old Victor Oladipo comes back? Because if, as I mentioned before, if the majority of that old Victor Oladipo comes back, the sky is the limit for this team. So everybody being healthy, Victor Oladipo coming back to 80% of who he was in 2018, we win. I'll say 1 more win than Kansas just to 1 up in 55 wins. And
See, I didn't go with the 5 because the 2 and the 5 are common denominations, and I wanted to be different because I thought immediately too, hey, 55 sounds like a good number. And they could do 60 if everybody stays healthy, but 55 is good, JJ. You go with that.
I love
55
that. Kevin
games.
is hella funny.
55 games, top 3 seed as well. And a 7-game Eastern Conference Final Series against either the Bucks or the Nets.
Okay. All right. I like that, man. All right. So last question that we like to ask here, guys, is if you guys could give us one word or one phrase to describe about how you felt about this last season that just finished, and then one word or one phrase describing about how you feel as a Heat fan coming up in this 2021-2022 season.
Well, for last season, I would just say exhaustion, because they were clearly exhausted throughout the year, and it was exhausting to watch as a fan because of all the dumb losses we suffered, games that we had firmly in hand entering the final minutes of the fourth quarter, and we ended up blowing them. Shout out to the Chicago Bulls in that particular game, or games that we were supposed to win where
The Hawks.
the other star players were out. And shout out to the Atlanta Hawks and Brandon Goodwin, who I don't know if he even is still in the league. And yeah, it was an exhausting experience. And for this coming season, I would say the word is grit. This team is gritty. Is gritty, and with grit, that's the Miami Heat way.
Like that.
My word for last season, man, pick a 4-letter word. Just pick one. All of them.
Hate.
No, nah. I'm talking about the expletive type.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't even matter. Just pick one.
You hella funny.
Coming into this season, man, culture. The same word as it always is. It's the most cultured team we've had in a while. I mean, Kyle Lowry is what does that. We have Dwayne Dedman from the top of the season on. We have Keith. We have PJ. Culture, man. That's the word.
All right. I like both of your guys' words, man. So, all right, man. Well, this is a good place for us to go ahead and wrap it up here. Guys, we do this little closing segment here on Clutch Talk called Guess the Player. This is how our closing segment works. I have 5 players here listed. I have accolades, things that they did, teams that they were drafted to, jersey numbers that they were retired, a bunch of things. And you guys each have 2 guesses per player. You can blurt it out, shout it out. The hints will get easier as they go on. You guys got it?
All right, let's go.
All right, let's do this, man.
My man's is Alex Trebek, R.I.P.
All right, let's do this, man. All right, first player. This guy is a 4-time champion. He is a 1-time finals MVP. He is a 6-time All-Star. He was drafted by the San Antonio Spurs. He most famously wore number 9.
Tony Parker.
Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, sir.
I was about to say TP. Hold on. I was narrowing it down. I was like, hold on now. When you got down to the 9, that's what gave it away.
There you go. All right. There you go. I like that one. All right. Next player we got here. This guy played on 4 teams throughout his NBA career. He is a 1-time champion. He is a 1-time All-Star Game MVP. He's a 2-time gold medalist, a 15-time All-Star.
Carmelo Anthony.
No. But this guy got in a really big argument with Carmelo Anthony.
Kevin Garnett.
Yes, sir.
Kevin Garnett.
KG, the big ticket. Yes,
The
sir.
big ticket, baby. All right, let's
I was
go.
close, man. I was close. Honey Nut
You
Cheerios
close.
and everything.
Honey Nut check.
Oh,
You hella funny. All right, here we go. All
yeah.
right.
Well, we Heat fans have a complicated relationship with Kevin Garnett. So
Yeah, we do.
It's a little complicated. All right.
UD famously said he's a soft, tough guy. But that's what UD said, not me. UD said that.
You did.
All right, here we go. Next player. This guy is a 1-time Rookie of the Year. This guy is a 1-time NBA MVP, a 3-time Finals MVP, a 15-time All-Star, a 3-time All-Star Game MVP, a 4-time champion.
LeBron?
No. This guy breaks backboards for a living.
Shaq.
Yes, sir.
Oh,
Yes, sir.
Shaq.
There
He
we
got it out
go.
before I could. He got it out. Okay.
All right, here we go. All right. This player, he is a one-time Sixth Man of the Year. He's a one-time gold medalist. He's
Manu
probably
Ginobili.
no.
Oh,
He's probably got dunked on worse than anyone in their career.
Jason Terry.
Yes, sir.
Oh.
Yes,
Oh,
sir.
the Jet.
Yes, sir.
Jeez.
He
Jason
knew
Terry
that.
won a gold medal.
Jason
Wow, I
Terry,
didn't know
yeah,
that.
he won a gold medal.
Yes.
What, in Sydney?
Yeah, in Sydney.
Okay.
All right, here we go. Last player here, guys. This guy was a All-Star game head coach. This guy was a one-time NBA steals leader. This guy is a 12-time All-Star, 2-time All-Star game MVP, a 2-time NBA champion.
Dwayne Wade? No,
Chauncey Billups.
No to both of you guys.
I don't know.
Okay.
Isaiah
Not a
Thomas.
coach.
One-time Finals MVP. Okay. This guy was the leader of a team that bruised up Michael Jordan.
Isaiah
Oh,
Thomas.
Isaiah Thomas.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I said it. I have already
Yeah.
said it.
There you go.
IT.
There you go.
Everybody drinking Shalimar champagne. No.
Oh man. This is a good place for us to go ahead and start to wrap it up here, guys. Man, Kenneth and JJ, we want to thank you guys, man. You guys were great guests. I absolutely love your guys' knowledge. You guys are knowledgeable fans. I love the vibes, man. I love the vibes, the energy coming from you guys, man. So I just wanted to just give you guys a huge shout out, man, before we check out here. Do you guys have any last words you guys want to say?
Well, thank you for having us. First of all, we had a blast. I'm pretty sure I can speak for Canada that we had a blast doing this. And thank you for having us, really. And check out our pod.
Yeah, but blast the pod, bro. Blast the pod. Put the pod name.
Yeah, I was just about to say this, man. Check us out. Thank you for having us. Like JJ said, we're going to have you guys on our podcast as a duo, then individually to talk about your individual teams. We'll work it out. Have your people call our people and everything like that. But at the same time, no, man, like I said, we're going to have to make it happen. Check us out and follow us at the 305 Culture Podcast. You can follow me and check out all my writings at allyoucanheat.com. And we do this thing every week. Where can they find you on Twitter, JJ?
They can find me at JJ Rivera NBA. That's JJRIV as in Victor ERANBA. And where can they find you, Kenneth?
Oh man, thanks for asking. They can find me at Said K. That's K _. Said SAID _QUE. K Said K. We appreciate y'all having us, man. It's been a wonderful time.
Man, that outro was fire, man. I like that, man. Okay. Hey, Jay, you got any last words to say for Canada, JJ, and Heat Nation?
JJ, Kenneth, appreciate y'all coming on, and man, I'm looking forward to seeing what the Heat can do in the East, because they got a squad this year.
Looking forward to seeing.
Yeah.
Nah.
It can't get here soon enough.
Who knows, man?
It really. And I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys do. Go ahead and give Lacob a call. Isn't Lacob still the guy buying the groceries up there? Give him a call and say, look, man, give him Wiggins, give him Wiseman, and dangle Draymond. If that's what it takes, get Ben Simmons here. I need to see it. Man.
That might be the first time I've ever seen somebody get fined for dissing a player. So
I know. Man.
It's been a wild offseason for y'all. I mean, between Draymond and KD just airing out all the business and everything else, I mean, it's been pretty nuts down, over that way too.
It's been messy all over here in California, over here in LA too. They calling this the
retirement
retirement home.
Bro. We expect that.
They calling this a retirement home. It's just crazy over here in California, man.
I think y'all signed another guy recently, and the running joke was like, "Yo, he isn't 35. What's he doing signing with the Lakers?" So you gotta be this is a senior league rec team, baby. You ain't 35 yet.
Oh man, this is great, man. This is great. Well, thank you guys, man. So for all the fans, you guys heard it here first, man. Make sure you guys go check out the guys, go check out their pod, man, and make sure you guys go give us a follow, man, on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, man. It's at Clutch Talk 1. I'm putting it right here, man. So just don't forget to do that. And that's it, man. We out here, y'all. Clutch Talk out.